Daniel Jones will be a New York Giant for at least the next few seasons. Daniel Jones signs a 4-year, $160 million contract with the Giants, and as expected, Saquon Barkley is given the franchise tag. So this is where I expected it to go. I'm happy about this. I think it's fair on both sides. And for the Giants, really, you can't get too wrapped up in the 4 years, $160 million. Really, with the way the structure looks, and we're still finding out more details, but a lot has come out. It's essentially a 2-year deal. It sounds like there's $82 million of the full guarantee that covers the first 2 years of the contract. And the first year cap number is around $19 million. So that really gives the Giants a lot of flexibility in 2023. Now, I guess then we're to assume that year 2 would be a pretty sizable cap hit. But again, can't say that for sure. But essentially, you have to look at this as a 2-year deal. But even still, I thought that maybe this was going to be a 5-year contract. It ends up being a 4-year deal. And it really does seem like it did basically come down to the wire. This was announced and reported right around the 4 o'clock deadline. And so now Saquon Barkley, like I said, the Giants placed the franchise tag on Saquon, which I'm completely fine with. That would put him at around $10 million, which I would be perfectly fine with. Now, it sounds like they're trying to negotiate a long-term deal. I got to be honest with you. Now, I feel bad for Saquon because obviously for him, the franchise tag isn't really ideal for a number of reasons. But I think for the Giants, it kind of is, and taking it year by year. So if it's me, sure, you try to hammer out a deal, but if it ends up that Saquon's playing on the franchise tag, I really would kind of prefer that, honestly. I would not give Saquon Barkley any type of a long-term commitment, and I think you have to trust Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll as well, and so that's why at least early on, it's hard for me to really fault anything they do. That's not really fair also, because obviously there's going to be mistakes that they make along the way. But Daniel Jones, really proved himself in 2022. Let's talk about Jones's career to this point. Obviously, he was the 6th overall pick in 2019. And that came with a lot of talk that, maybe the Giants could have drafted him later. This was not seen well amongst, talking heads, NFL analysts, but, what do they know? And Jones ends up really with a very good rookie season. A lot of turnovers, especially fumbles, but under Pat Shurmur, a pretty impressive year 1. I mean, who can forget his first ever game versus the Tampa Bay Bucks and just, taking over for Eli Manning, who was in his last year at the time. And the Giants didn't win a whole lot of games. The Giants didn't win a whole lot of games in Daniel Jones' first 3 seasons, but Jones in year 1, 24 passing touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He did fumble. There was 18 fumbles and 11 lost. So he definitely had a fumbling issue, but as we've seen in the last couple of seasons, that's correctable, and it has been. And then Shurmur gets fired, and it just was not the, Jason Garrett offense was just not really... was not good for Daniel Jones. And so 2020 had its struggles, but it got better as the year progressed. But then he got injured against, who did he get hurt against? Was it the Bengals? I think it was against the Bengals where Jones gets hurt. And so that unfortunately, he injured his hamstring. And he was never quite the same. He missed a few games, came back with probably 3-4 games left, and just wasn't, maybe it was with 3 games left, and just wasn't quite the same. They did win that last game versus the Cowboys, and then of course the Eagles basically lost on purpose to Washington, but whatever, the Giants ended up with, still, they were only 6-10 that season. So as much as it was sort of a feel-good story in Judge's first year, for Jones, it got better, but I would say it was definitely a downgrade from 19. 21, he eliminates the fumbles. Like, the turnover machine that he had been is now basically gone, but still the production isn't quite there. And in 2021, his season ends early with that neck injury sustained against the Philadelphia Eagles. So now it's a question of, Jones' durability. the Giants decide to not pick up the fifth-year option. And look, that was the right, like, you can't tell me that in that moment that they should have gone in any different direction but that. That was the right thing to do. And so Daniel Jones, this was a big year for him, and he was kind of on the outs, right? It's a new regime. It's Brian Daboll, and that really worked well for him. And of course, Joe Schoen. This was not their quarterback. This was Dave Gettleman. Dave Gettleman at this point is now gone after he, quote unquote, retires after 2021. He really should have been fired. Either way, he's gone. And Jones in 22 delivered. He delivered, leads the Giants to the playoffs. The numbers aren't overly gaudy, but I mean, from a rushing standpoint, they are. 708 rushing yards, 7 rushing touchdowns. And then the touchdown interception ratio, 15 passing touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. That's good stuff. And he looked like a quarterback, especially after that Viking game where, and look, we know that Minnesota defense isn't good, but in his first playoff game on the road, he became the first player in NFL history with 300 plus passing yards, 2 plus passing touchdowns, and 70 rushing yards. So it was a dynamic game. And look, the Eagle game was bad. Daniel Jones was not good in that game. The Eagle game was not a good one. But it doesn't take away from what he did. And we came to that conclusion, right? When the season ended, the conclusion was basically drawn that Daniel Jones is going to be the quarterback of this team. And now we know that. And so Jones is in the fold. But the good thing is that there's still a lot to be proven. And they didn't lock themselves into a ridiculously long-term deal. Like I said, this seems like you can get out of this after year 2 if things go wrong. And going the franchise tag route would have been bad for Jones and the Giants. It would have, there would have been no cap space. I shouldn't say no cap space, but you wouldn't have had a whole lot of room to maneuver this year. And, for Jones, there's, a lot less. Obviously, look, he has at least $82 million in guaranteed money, which for him is good, but for the Giants is also good. This could end up actually being, this could be a bargain. Look, if Jones lives up to, you get more weapons, this could really be a steal of a deal. It could be with the way that the money is going for quarterbacks. And we're just seeing, or to be fair, if Jones flops, it's bad. It would be, but it's good that, and again, more details are coming out. And the structure in NFL contracts, the structure is very, very important. And there's definitely some good things that I'm seeing as far as the way that Joe Schoen handled this. And so, I am very happy about the results of this. Jones getting the contract, them avoiding the franchise tag, and then thus Saquon Barkley now actually being assigned the franchise tag. And like I said, I don't mind if that stays. I kind of prefer him on the tag, for selfish reasons, for pure selfish reasons, than Saquon getting a contract from the Giants. And so Barkley was very good in 2022. He really was. I'm not going to, go through stats, but Barkley as a rookie and in year 2, it was good seasons. And I can't hold it against him that he was the number 2 overall pick. You do not pick a running back number 2 overall. And so for that, unfortunately, there's been, I've never really viewed Barkley as highly as maybe I should have. He's a great talent. He's a great running back. And at $10 million, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. But, anything more than that and to lock yourself in, I just don't think that's wise. So we'll see. And that might happen sooner than later. There really are talks that they are trying to come to a contract maybe within the next week. So we'll save the Saquon discussion for potentially that. But I'll be happy if this tag continues and kind of transitioning away from Saquon. That would be my hope, is that you slowly move away from Saquon Barkley. He's a great guy. He is a really, really talented running back. He's a good locker room presence, all of that. Like, I like the person, but just in terms from a business side, I don't think that I want Saquon Barkley here in the long run. Nothing against him. It's just the way that it is. I definitely think that you're best served not really spending a whole lot of money on the running back position. It's very replaceable. It really, really is. And so that's going to be the next thing to see what happens with Saquon. But as far as the here and now, this is exactly what should have been done. You know, you can have the debate about the Jones contract, and I'm sure there will be. And, you know, when you look at it on the surface, like, wow, Daniel Jones, $40 million a year. That's a lot. It is a lot. But I think that it was done the right way. It's a lot better than a franchise tag. Clearly, they believe in Daniel Jones. That is for sure. And he deserves that. And in doing so, now you bring back Saquon Barkley on hopefully a lesser money deal. But we'll see what happens from here on out. And this was the first domino to fall, the biggest one. Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley will be New York Giants in 2023, and in Jones's case, beyond.